Welcome back to a new video. This one, we're working on the bonnet. And here it is on the panel stand. But first things first is we need to locate where we're going to fit this reverse cow. Now the plan is I'm going to find where it needs to be, scribe around it, make a stencil so I know where to drill the holes for the bolts, and then we'll get it on that way. And then we can start stripping the last of the green paint off of the car, because this is the last panel to be stripped back and it's the last of the green that's left. So let's get at it. All right, I think that's where it wants to be. So I think I've got it pretty centered. There to there is even, as is there to there. So what I've done is, an easy way is 14 rows in on that side, and then I've gone 14 rows in on that side, and then from there, following this line to here is about 400 mil, sorry. And then there, following that line to there is 400 mil again. And I've also measured in the center on both sides, marked the same here to there. That's 16 on the tape measure. What's that, 16 inches maybe? From there to there, both sides. And then I've gone at the front, and now I've lined up this bulge with the center of the Calais badge, because I have to assume that that's the center, so that's lined up with that. And then from the center to there is the same. It's 71.4 centimeters both sides. So now all I have to do is scribe around it. Then I'll turn this over, make up a template so we can put back on the bonnet, mark where the holes are going to be, and then we can drill them, and that eliminates the guesswork of where the holes are going to be. And I also got the bonnet back on the car for testing, just to fit the scoop on to see whether it would clear the wipers, all that kind of stuff. That's where it wants to be. So pretty happy. If you can see through all the dust, you will see a line scribed into the clear coat as we just walk around, and then going back up. Now what I've done here is I've just taped the paper to the underneath of the scoop, rubbed my hand in the dirt that's on the bonnet, and just made a dirt line around so I can see where it goes. Felt for the screws and then marked the center where they are, and that's all the way around. So all that's left to do now, take it off, cut it out. Well, that's taped on the bonnet and fits rather well. However, my cutting skills leave a bit to be desired. The point in that doesn't line up with that and is an optical illusion, but I placed the scoop back on and straight over the top of this looks good. So all I have to do now is mark where these dots are, and that is my bolt holes. The other thing that I did do was put the stencil on upside down, and was wondering why don't the lines match up, and then realized it's because I did it from underneath that. It needs to go the other way and then fit it on rather nicely. So let's mark these holes and drill some holes. After a bit of dicking around, all the holes are drilled. Now all the holes lined up, however, they were not 100% lined up, so I just had to make them a smidgen bigger than what the bolt hole is to be able to get to screw them in, but they do all line up. So I'll put the scoop on and show you all that while it's lined up. So that stencil ended up working rather well. Alright, I'll get the scoop on and let you have a look. Now, here is the scoop, bolted into place, all screws in, without any dramas. Looks pretty good. All lined up rather well, maybe 0.25 of a mil out, but that was no dramas to fix, just a little bit bigger hole. So if we look underneath, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and behind that is number 8. So all screws fit in nicely without too much hassle. Now to pull it apart and start sanding. Small update on my progress. I've started sanding the top of the bonnet. Now what I've been doing is doing it by hand with these sanding blocks here, because what I want is to keep it flat so that there's the least amount of body work as possible in it that I have to do. Now it is taking a long time. The clear coat is really thick, but you'll be able to see that those darker patches are getting into the colour, so it still needs sanding, and obviously these grooves here haven't been done yet, and there's a repair that needs to be done there. But all in all, I've managed to sand out the line that I scribed around for the scoop, so it's coming down. I'm thinking now that I might go to the electric sander just to get the clear coat off, and then go back to the hand sanding into the colour, and then we'll call it quits there, because I'm not going back to bare metal on this. No. The steel is a little bit tin canny now. I don't want to heat it up and make it worse. So that's my theory, and that's what I'm sticking with. I'll catch you up when the top's finished sanding. I've had just about enough of sanding this. Oh my word, has those coats been thick. But I think I'm done. I can't go anymore. Broken a sander. I've also managed to find a small repair, a few dings that are in there, and the filler had started to lift, and of course it started to rust underneath. So I managed to sand back the bare metal, so that's not too bad. I'll repair that. Maybe go over this again with a finer grit so it's not so chunky, because I've been using 60 grit, so it's quite rough. I'll flip it over and I'll sand the underneath. Wow, here we are. I have been a busy little beaver. All the underside of the bonnet is now sanded. So what I've done is sanded the flat pieces of steel, because again I don't want to heat them up and make them warp, but I've wire wheeled the frame, because sanding that with the sander is going to be a nightmare. So get the old wire wheel out, flick and harm my body with all the wire pieces, and got it back to bare metal. And that's taken quite a while. So the next job on here is to vacuum it and then clean it up and get it ready for undercoat. There's a couple of little patches, repairs that I'm just waiting to dry there before I do that. The scoop's ready to clean and undercoat. So progress is progressing. I'll clean it all up and hit it with some undercoat and get back to you very shortly. And just like that, the scoop is primed, and so is the underside of the bonnet. Now, most of that little bit of scratching that's left will be filled when it's primed. I've put the latch and whatever that thing's called back in just so I don't forget how they go, but other than that, it's going quite well. Now, I'm going to flip the bonnet back over, clean the other side, spray it, and then when it dries, that can go on that. There you have it. One bonnet in undercoat, ready to be fitted with its reverse cow. I haven't put the thickest coat on, so you can still see a little bit of the jargon underneath, but that's okay, as it will be reprimed later on. Let's fit this on here and sit it back on the car, see what it looks like. Well, would you look at that? It's fitted, it's only hand tight, it's creaking, so I don't want to tighten it up too tight because I don't. It's nice and secure. That is an illusion. It doesn't have a huge gap around it. It's just the lighting. See, that is a straight down lip there, whereas back here it looks as though there's a gap underneath, but it's not. There is a slight gap under there which will come down with extra layers of paint and tightened up the screws. So they're all in. Let's put the thing on the car. Well, you can see without those vents there, I need to source one of those plastic trays that covers the wiper motor and stuff. There's still a small amount of touch-ups to be done, but that will come when it gets ready for colour. So there's a little mark at the front where the Calais badge was. It didn't quite hide it as I thought I did until I sprayed the undercoat on, but that's okay. It looks magnificent. It's actually good to see pieces go back on the car and make it look like what I've envisioned the last 4 to 5 years. So we'll get the back bumper done next. That'll be maybe a couple of weeks away at the rate I work, and then I'll have to get onto brother and bribe him to come up and do some paint. Then after that, we can really start making some progress on this. Because once the paint's done, we're home free. Anyways, I want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.